Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. My name's AJ, and I hope everyone had an amazing Christmas and great Christmas holidays. I, for one, had a great one. Spent some time with the family, and everything's hunky dory. I'm very pleased to announce I'm back doing videos again. I had a little break. I had like a week off from work as well, so it was a really good time. Gained a lot of weight, ate a lot, so I guess I need to start hitting the gym. So I'll try to hit the gym after this, making this video. So anyway, I hope everyone had a great time, and without further ado, let's get on with the show. In today's topic, I'm going to be talking about Nicaragua. I'm going to be talking about the history and also why Taiwan has lost Nicaragua, and why Nicaragua's gain is like winning a lottery to China. It is going to make a huge difference for the BRI and a huge difference for the area, as well as a huge win for China as well. And I'll explain why. So let's go through some articles, shall we? Nicaragua seizes former Taiwan embassy and gives it to China. China and Nicaragua re-establish ties in blow to US and Taiwan. Taiwan slams Nicaragua's disgusting seizure of its former mission. Oh, that's funny. As Taiwan joins a US democracy summit, it loses another partner to China. Why China's Nicaragua move is much about the US as it is about Taiwan. Groundbreaking of Chinese-backed Nicaragua Canal commencing. And finally, China's closer ties with Central American nation is bad news for Wall Street. If you notice, they've mentioned Wall Street and not mentioned US or Taiwan. This is because US is going to be losing a lot of money because of this, and I'll explain why shortly. So the question on everyone's mind is, why did Nicaragua do this? Why did they go with China instead of keeping ties with Taiwan and the US? Mainly for three reasons. The main reason is this. It follows months of worsening ties between Ortega and Washington, and came on the day US State Department said he applied sanctions to Nestor Montana Lau, a national security advisor to Ortega, alleging he operates an import and customs fraud scheme to enrich members of the Ortega's government. So the US has basically placed sanctions on Nicaragua's government, and it seems like on the day they made that decision, and it seems like this is probably the icing on the cake. It's been a number of reasons, and I was reading around, a lot of Nicaraguans are very upset that over the years America has pretty much destroyed the country. So I don't know if anyone's actually heard of the Contra War, which lasted 10 years and was made possible by the US government, whose agents trafficked in weapons and drugs to underwrite it. So I was watching a lot of shows on Netflix, I think Narcos and a few other drug-related shows, and how the US government basically used trafficked drugs and weapons to fund this war in Nicaragua. And they did this to oust the government, and at the time the government was the Sandinistas, and pretty much destroyed the country. The infrastructure was pretty much destroyed, and US since then has done nothing to help them. It's done absolutely nothing whatsoever. They give a bit of aid money here and there, but it's nothing, guys. It's only a few hundred million. That's not going to take you far. And the main reason, I believe, is because of COVID. During COVID, a lot of countries have woken up to the fact, who your real friends are. And Nicaraguans were pretty much left out to dry and pretty much left to die, pretty much. And you can see here, at present, less than 5% of Nicaraguans are fully vaccinated. And this is because US has failed in its promise to give Nicaragua vaccines. They pretty much hoarded it for the United States themselves. And I remember when the United States had a huge issue with COVID deaths, so they hoarded all of the vaccinations for themselves and did not export anything to their friendly countries, and Nicaragua was one of them. And Nicaragua couldn't import any vaccines from China because of their relations with Taiwan. So a lot of Nicaraguans had died because of this, and Americans pretty much left Nicaraguans out there to die. They don't really care, and I think that was a wake-up call for the government, and the final icing on the cake was America giving them sanctions, and I think that was it. Ortega decided, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna go with China, and good decision. I also want to talk about this funny story, which actually did make me laugh, to be honest. And since Taiwan lost Nicaragua, after President Daniel Ortega ordered Taiwan out, Taiwan sold the embassy to the local Catholic Church for $1 out of goodwill. But Ortega seized the property and will give it to China, said Joseph Wu on Twitter, calling the move unlawful and utterly disgusting. So Taiwan, out of spite, tried to sell this embassy to the local Catholic Church for $1. And the Nicaraguan government has basically obviously taken it out and given it to China. And the Taiwan's response was pretty hilarious. It called Nicaragua's disgusting seizure of its former mission. So the article sounds like they took it out of Taiwan's hand and handed it to China, but it wasn't the case at all. Taiwan actually gave it away to a Catholic church for $1, and they seized it off the Catholic church. So that's what happened. It's not like they seized it off Taiwan and gave it to China, but the wording seems like they did. So, it's just more lies, as you can expect. So I'm going to go to this article now. China's closer ties with Central American nation is bad news for Wall Street. So why is it bad news for Wall Street? I'll have to show you guys the map to show you. So currently there is a Panama Canal, and I'll show you this marker. There's a Panama Canal there, which the US pretty much controls, and that basically takes goods from East Coast to the West Coast, and is also the link between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean as well. So the Pacific Ocean, you got China going on that direction, and you got Europe coming in here, and anything going between the Panama Canal, you can send goods to the East Coast, West Coast of America, and you got the East Coast America as well, and you got Africa here. So it's a very, very important canal, this Panama Canal. So what Nicaragua and China are going to be doing, they're going to be building an alternative canal, the Nicaraguan Canal. So here is a bigger map to explain things, why Nicaragua is very, very important for China. So currently all Chinese goods to America go to the west coast of America, and all of these ports in the west coast, Los Angeles and California, and they take a lot of Chinese goods and they get sent through the rest of America through rail and trucks, for example. So obviously, as you know, the United States does not have any high-speed rail, so that takes a long time. It doesn't really have the infrastructure like China does, so all of that stuff takes a long time. It's more expensive. So it can go through the Panama Canal, but unfortunately, the Panama Canal is very, very congested, and Americans pretty much own that canal. So they have say what goes in, what goes out, and there seems to be a huge backlog as well. They can also go via South America, but that is a very long distance. So what the Nicaragua Canal allows is a shortcut between the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean for China, which is great news because that means you can send goods to the east coast of America now, if this canal is completed, and it gives a shortcut to Europe. Because if China wants to send goods to Europe, it has to go through the long way, or it has to go through the Panama Canal, or it has to go through the Malacca Strait, through Singapore, Indian Ocean, and then through Middle East, and then into Europe. So China has got very, very long routes to Europe. If this Nicaragua canal is completed, it gives a very, very short distance to Europe and also the east coast of America and all of these African countries and South American countries on the east coast as well. So it's a huge, huge advantage for China, guys, if this is done. A huge advantage. And this is probably the most important country for China right now. If this Nicaraguan canal is completed, China's exports will grow, China's GDP will grow because it's got access to more markets, more cities around the globe, and the timing between the East Coast cities and into China, and also straight link into Africa and Europe, will lower shipping costs as well, so more people will buy from China. So China's exports will around the globe will increase because of it. As I said, the Panama Canal is mainly controlled by the Americans because they funded the canal, and so they have a say. So they will only let countries which are friendly to America, like the Allies, UK, Canada, Five Eyes. Any countries which are friendly to America will probably let them through first. Any other countries like China, Russia would probably get rejected, or they'll have to go through a lot of paperwork, and it makes it difficult. It becomes very political. So this Nicaraguan canal will allow safe passage to Chinese, Russian, or countries which are not friendly to America, and also there's less politics, less paperwork, and it just kind of takes away a lot of business from the Panama Canal into Nicaragua. And this article pretty much explains it all. Enter the Nicaraguan Canal, an alternative shipping route proposed by Nicaraguan and Chinese authorities that could break the monopoly that the Panama Canal has on trade between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. If this canal was built, it will allow many countries shut out of more traditional trade options the freedom and the trade more openly without harassment. Not only would the Nicaraguan Canal get the exclusive economic activity that is generated by giving these sanctioned countries safe passage, but the utilization of a Chinese canal alternative versus the American one might encourage others to shy away from American investment in favor of Chinese terms and cooperation. So you see, it's a huge deal for this canal to be built, and I'm sure America will do everything in their power they can to stop it from building, but I don't think there's much they can do. They can invade Nicaragua or start another Contra war like they did for 10 years in the past. But America doesn't have the resources to fight another war. They are focusing on China, Taiwan, Russia, Iran at the moment. They have not got the resources to focus on Nicaragua as well. So this canal will be built, whether the Americans like it or not. This now brings me to the next story, which is related. US intelligence warns that China intends to build a warship base on the Atlantic Ocean on the Equatorial Guinea in threat to eastern seaboard. And also, China may be eyeing its first military base on the Atlantic Ocean, report. So, what's happening here is China is looking to build a base here. And this is going to be in the country of Equatorial Guinea. It's very small country, and basically that will protect all the sea routes that are coming through Nicaragua. And this is China slowly pushing its power onto the Atlantic Ocean and linking it to the Pacific Ocean. And the Americans are freaking out. The whole world, Western world, is absolutely freaking out. You can see here, US officials told the Wall Street Journal that intelligence suggests China is eyeing the small African nation of Equatorial Guinea for its base. Such a nightmare scenario for the US was suggested back in April by General Stephen Townsend, the head of US Africa Command, who warned that a Senate hearing that China's most significant threat would be militarily useful naval facility on the Atlantic coast of Africa. So they are pretty much freaking out, but they don't really mention that America's got hundreds and hundreds of bases around the world, and they're freaking out for 1 or 2 or 3 bases for China. I mean, seriously, get a life. So in terms of military bases, there's only one so far which I know about, which is in Djibouti, and that's on the east side of Africa. So it makes sense to have another one on the west side of Africa, so that will be the Equatorial Guinea around here. I believe there's talks in place where there's going to be a base in Afghanistan as well. So that would be the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. I believe there's going to be another base in Pakistan in Gwadar once the Gwadar port is finished. I believe there's some talks between Iran and China about having a naval base in Iran as well. And there's also a few talks about a few other places as well. But Djibouti is the one, only one China has at the moment. But there are talks in other places for China to extend its projected power. But these bases are needed. As China grows in strength, it needs to be able to protect its ships and exports and imports, oil and goods that are traveling all over the world. So it needs a lot of these bases to protect these ships and protect these shipping lanes. So I believe in the next few years, next 5-10 years, there'll be a lot of Chinese bases popping up all over the world. And America's got to have to get used to it. So finally, I want to talk about another canal that's in development at the moment, and this is called the KRA Canal. And that is going to go through Thailand. And basically, what this means, a lot of ships that come from China or go to China have to travel through an area called the Malacca Strait. And this is the Malacca Strait, and it's a very, very narrow piece of sea which is very heavily congested, and it's also a bottleneck for China as well. So as China's imports and exports increase, a lot of ships have to travel through this narrow piece. And one of the things that America has said, that if there is ever a war in the Taiwan Strait, America would block this Malacca Strait, and it would get its partners like India, Australia, UK and even Europe, and they will block this, and they will stop all imports and exports going to and from China by blocking this strait. So that is a huge problem for China, and a huge disadvantage. So another development that's in place is working with Thailand, building this KRA canal, and this would avoid a lot of the ships going through the Malacca Strait and going via Thailand instead, and that would save costs as well. As you know, this is a long distance for China, so anything coming from Middle East or Europe or Africa, would save a lot of costs and go directly via Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam and into China, and that is in development at the moment as well. However, the number one priority at the moment is the Nicaraguan canal, and that is in development at the moment, and I think it's being built as we speak. They are pretty much fast tracking this, and soon as this is finished, it's going to be better for everyone. It's going to be great for China, because like I said, it links the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. So you got the Atlantic here, you got the Pacific here. Goods coming in and out of China, they don't have to go through the geopolitics of going through the Panama Canal, which is controlled by America. They will have their own canal working with Nicaragua, and goods will be going into the east coast of America. You have all of these South American countries, the Caribbean, which China will have access to. You'll have all of these African countries China will have direct access to, and the main market is Europe, which China will have access to directly. So it's a huge impact if this is built for China. It will definitely increase China's GDP and wealth, its exports, its imports, and for the Nicaraguan people, they will make a lot of money, a lot of goods that are going to be traveling through Nicaragua instead of the Panama Canal. So they will take business from the Panama Canal, and money will be flowing through Nicaragua, and that's going to be great for the Nicaraguan people. They will finally can start working on building infrastructure, building schools, hospitals, and they don't have to rely on America's 100 million whatever peanuts that America pays for aid. Nicaragua has been one of the poorest countries in South America, but all of that will change once this canal is built. So let me know what you guys think, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Make sure you check your comments. I love reading your comments. It makes me sad when YouTube deletes a lot of your comments, so I feel sad that it does. So make sure you double check your comments that it hasn't been deleted by YouTube, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you can to support the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you buy me a coffee time to time, or if you can join my Patreon. I think my Patreon's right now is 43 members. Let's get it up to 50. That would be amazing. So I'll see you in the next video, guys, and enjoy the rest of the holidays.